appreciate it. All right. You know, it's interesting. One of the biggest challenges I had when I was going to create this first slide called Living Your Genius, which we're going to talk about, I said my average talk is between 1 and 3 hours. How are we going to compact all that into like 20 minutes? And we're screwed pretty much. So when I thought about the journey in terms of what genius is, I thought Einstein did it pretty spectacular when he summed it up. In fact, really the only difference between a 30-year-old and a 10-year-old is 20 years. Some of you work with those, right? I think, what was the comedian who said, you can't fix stupid? But what we're really talking about is genius. And what is a genius? If you look at the definition, is it something that says I'm a plus 140 IQ? Does it mean that I have all these amazing credentials? And there's some of you right now that are saying, how can this guy even talk about being a genius when he can't spell it right on the slide? Right? And then there's others that are sitting in here going, I didn't catch that. Does that make me stupid? You know, but we learn different ways, and that's something that we have to understand, that we all have a different type of ability, right? So the key is really to tune into those talents. I find it very fascinating where you can take an autistic savant, and I was watching this just the other day online where this gentleman had no social capacity, was nonverbal, but yet could hear a piece of music one time auditorily and then replay it flawlessly. There's talent within each of us. The key is, how do we uncover it? And here's the challenge. As an example, I'm from West Virginia originally, okay? I graduated high school with a 1.33 GPA. There it is, valedictorian. And I know, when you look at that, you sit there and you go, wait a minute, what's a W for math? That's when they withdraw you from the class. Yeah, I was Spanish club president the whole year, okay? So I had and an E is like an F. I used to tell my dad that was an excellent, but it didn't work. Got an A in piano, though. I mean, my teacher was hot. No, he still is. And so what happens is that it went through my whole academic career. Even when I look back at 5th grade, this is one of my report cards where they're saying, he talks too much. He won't shut up. He just wants to entertain people. And what's interesting is I was taught as a kid over and over and over, shut up and sit down. And I've generated millions of dollars over the years doing exactly what they told me not to do. So you have to uncover and find the talents that you have. But here's the challenge. And if we look at this, we put labels on people. We do it all the time, non-consciously, but we do. We judge people right out of the gate, and it's frustrating. I found it very fascinating that we have this gentleman from the 1930s who said, by putting a label on someone, we're actually defining how we treat them. And I thought that notion to me was pretty incredible, because we don't realize when we say, you're stupid, you're smart, she's pretty, he's ugly. Those labels begin to change behaviors. And so what it really comes down to is this: your beliefs drive your actions, and your actions create your results. And if you don't like what you have in your life, it's a function of your non-conscious. 83% of our reality is developed by our non-conscious, the conversations that we have for ourselves. So if I don't like what I have, I need to look at the actions or what I'm doing. And if I don't care for that, I need to look at what I believe. Because if I believe someone is a jerk, I'll find all the evidence to support that belief, because ego requires right. It's a very binary system here. And I find that really cool. So we think we know. Say that again. We think we know. We make decisions and we make those choices based off of narratives that we've either been taught to believe or that we know to be true based on past experience. So we think we know, but many times we don't. It's an illusion. In fact, our whole life is an illusion, with the exception of love. Everything else is just manufactured. It's raining out, so it's going to be a bad day. Traffic sucks. It's going to be a bad day. I did my little Instagram story this morning where, it's 5:50 in the morning and I had a wonderful email. Why not share that? Got upgraded. I'm like, wow, this is cool. I'm speaking in Vegas tomorrow, so that's a big one, right? But if we think about it this way, I want you to understand, it comes down to mindset. Not attitude, not really how smart you are, but your mindset. This is what I demonstrated for my 14-year-old. I said, your confidence is at a 9, but your skill set's at a 4. In between is trouble. And nothing changes as adults. Sometimes we think we know more than we do. And we act like it. And I'm not suggesting or at least being able to say, don't be confident, but don't be stupid either. In fact, my daughter, when I was talking to her about that, I had this picture pulled up, and I go, do you know what that is? She goes, you think I'm stupid? That's what measures how many steps you take. I said, no, that's a pager. She goes, what's that? I said, that's when people would go to a phone and put their number in this device, and it would beep, and then you'd have to go call them back. And remember the people with two were either like a doctor or a drug dealer? They would carry them all around at your port. And she goes, why wouldn't they just call your cell phone? I'm like, we didn't have cell phones. She goes, how do you call them? We went to one of these. She goes, what's that? I'm like, that's a pay phone. Wait a minute, Dad. You had to pay actually to like make a call? Like she doesn't realize her phone does cost money, right? And I was like, yes, we did. And we had to go get change and go put a dime in it. And she goes, that's dumb. And it's definitely not efficient. I'm like, no, it's not. Actually, we were in New York last week, and she went to a museum and saw one, and she took a picture and sent it to me. She goes, these do exist. That was in Madame Tussauds, I believe. But I said, you know what, Alex? In 1989, we did actually become more technology 1.33 GPA. But our technology began to expand, and we got a car phone, right? And I'm talking about, and there could be youngsters in here going like, what the heck's that? That's a car phone. That's where it came from. You didn't leave the car, you just kind of there. And we had the squirrely antennas, and if you were cool, you had two of those, you know? And people would buy fake ones, you know, and put them on the windshield. And she goes, why wouldn't you just take a phone with you? I was like, we graduated around 1990. We ended up getting the bag phone. It's like the Louis Vuitton of the 90s. Like, people would carry that. It's like, ugh, this thing's awesome. It's a battery. Basically, that's what you're carrying. Until, of course, we got the big brick phone, which made a lot of sense. Stick that in your back pocket. Chiropractor. And you say, gosh, thanks for the history lesson. Why are you sharing this? Because the world changes. That's the thing. Our world changes and evolves every single day. And you have two choices. You can adapt with change, or you can die. Those are your two choices. Not physically, but professionally. Your brain has to expand. Your genius is actually someone thinking, this isn't working, problem solving, and coming up with something else. That's why I challenge folks to say imperfect actions are better than no action. Take a chance. Take something to market. Be innovative. Because someone saw a problem with that bag phone and said, this is dumb. Who would have told, if you were around and alive in the 80s, okay, it's weird when you get old when you gotta start saying that. If you were not peeing in your pants in the 80s, think about this. If somebody came up to you and said, you're gonna actually have a conversation on your watch, it's like, get smart, you know, except that was the shoe, but still, like, and then somebody's like, get smart, is that a brain clue? No, you're just too young. Or I was at the airport just day before yesterday, and I literally thought the lady was talking to herself, but it was a little hidden one in her ear. That's the craziness that's out there. See, you have to adapt. Now, here's the other thing. How do you create genius? So I kind of mapped it out for us to make it a little easy. There's 3 little steps here. First, you have to understand and appreciate that you do have something of value. That every one of us, each and every one of you, have the ability to create genius. You must tune into it. And then what you do, you have to allow other people to follow that genius. Don't be afraid to shine. I saw something on LinkedIn yesterday, a little girl, I don't know if anybody saw this, she was, I don't know, 5 years old, 6 years old, they were singing in choir and everybody was and she was up there just doing her own thing and singing. That's genius. That's what you want to embrace. Find it in your children. If you have a child, focus, laser focus into not finding fault, find genius. If you have a significant other, it's easy to find fault, so find genius. Look for opportunities to do that. And then finally, know that you're not labeled. And that's very hard. Sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves. You know, I created an amazing podcast 7 years ago. My first episode came out 4 months ago because it had to be just right. Perfect. Same thing with Instagram. I didn't do stories until last week because I said, that's stupid doing stories on Instagram. I love them. They're so much fun, and I like being silly and including other people, and it's gotten to where I'm actually able to impact people without even realizing because I'm not trying. Be you. You know, I think that my clicker's not, there it is. It comes down to this word though. You uncover your genius, you got to figure out how you're going to be able to deliver it. And I'll give you an example. When I was 13 years old, all of my teachers up to that point did nothing but gave me trouble for being me. And Mrs. Ball said, Brian, I found something that I believe that you're going to be great at, and that's public speaking. And I was like, how's that work? She said, well, I actually enrolled you into a contest. It's the Optimist Club. You'll give a 15-minute presentation on optimism. And I said, Mrs. Ball, thank you, but I don't know anything about eyesight. She said, that's optometry. This is public speaking for positive thinking. And I was like, cool, I did it. Guess what? Came in first place. There were 10 different guys and gals there, first place, got a medal. I still have that medal. I have it in my office. I love it. Here's the actual medal. That's not me in 1985, but that's the medal in 1985. Because somebody's like, gosh, he hasn't changed. He looks the same. I know, right? But the reality is that one teacher's moment to find that one bit of genius in me created my career. Now, it took 20 years before I made a penny. And that's the interesting thing about that. When someone says to me, I'd love to do what you do, I'm like, be willing to do whatever you love to do for 20 years and not get paid. Morgan Freeman, he didn't get his first break until he was 52. Richard Branson didn't even begin Virgin until in his 30s. What's the guy from the Dallas, the shark guy? What's his name? Mark Cuban was a bartender at 25. Gives us hope, doesn't it? So if you're 30, 40, even 50 plus, our life is just beginning. And that's a powerful thing. We all have genius within us. All of us do. And the key is, how are you going to find it? Or are you willing and open to find it? And how are you going to leverage it? And when you do that, that's when your whole life changes. What I like to do, and for me and my journey in my life, is I grew up, and we shared this yesterday at our presentation, that I grew up with a lot of nothingness in terms of physical stuff. We were broke and poor and you know, blah, blah. But probably more important than that, I didn't have the love. My mom died when I was a year old. My father was never really a passionate physical. It was always, why do you want to do that? That's stupid. And I'm not telling you that, feel sorry for me, because again, that's what creates, you know, I wanted to be the father that I wish I had. And for many of us, that's the only thing we can do, right? And I appreciate and value for what he did, kept me safe, never killed me or anything. But we can't turn back those times. And that's the challenge, is we live as victims and putting labels and allowing other people to put labels on us, and it doesn't work that way. And so I always felt it was money. And for me, it's not the $1 million anymore. It's about the million moments. The million moments with I have a 13-year-old daughter, 14-year-old daughter, 20-year-old daughter, and I'm living, right? And I'm not perfect. We're human. We're going to let people down, but what I am is consistent. And to me, I'm moving my life from success to significance. This back part, I'm almost 50, is all about sharing and giving. And I think if we're able to kind of have that mindset, for me at least, we'll uncover other people's genius. And if I can inspire people to do so, then wonderful. If you don't already, I would love for you and invite you to join me on Instagram at the very minimum. If you enjoy stories and a little bit of short videos, all about giving. I don't sell, all about give. Please join me. I have a bunch of them on there. On my website, you can actually join a newsletter that once a month, maybe once every 6 weeks, I'll send another encouraging note to you. So whether you're in sales, marketing, customer service, leadership, that's really my jam and what I focus on. But trying to find that connection between personal success and professional fulfillment. And that's the key. So thank you for allowing me to be a part this morning, and I look forward to seeing you guys not only online, but perhaps in Austin, right? All right, great seeing you guys. Thank you.